God, Sinead, I kind of wish I was nearly going back to school now with all these class recipes that we've been discussing today.
I know. Well, the thing is, you mightn't be going back to school, but you'll be definitely going back to work. So you've got loads of ideas here now to fill your lunchbox with.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, this is great. I'm not going to be relying on croissants and coffee anymore. One thing that we haven't looked at yet, and I think it's probably important to touch on, is the role that dairy and protein in general have on muscle metabolism and helping us promote lean mass.
Definitely. And as you said there, protein isn't just a thing for sports people or for teenagers. It's for everyone, throughout the whole age and life cycle. For our grandparents, ourselves, or really anyone who's active. So how regularly then should we be consuming protein?
Yeah, great question, right down to the kind of the pragmatic stuff. Practically speaking, if you're getting some kind of hit of protein every 3 hours, so every dietary transaction, so for a student that might mean something as simple as having a bowl of cereal with your milk in it, that's a valid protein source. Making sure you're having a protein hit at your small break at lunch. You could do something really simple there like hummus and rice cakes, you'll get some protein in that, maybe if you put a couple of seeds on it. Lunchtime then, I suppose, what we would always recommend would be having a proper protein source, like your piece of chicken, your meat, your fish, or your tofu or soya if you're plant-based. Same again for your lunch and your dinner. So if you're getting those regular protein hits, the reason we do that is to optimize muscle protein synthetic rate. What that very fancy term means is how your body makes muscle. So if we look at teenagers and in particular student athletes, they have two jobs as far as I can see. Number one, they're growing and developing at a pretty eye-watering rate. And then they throw in all of the sports they tend to do. And any of the student athletes I work with, they don't just do one sport, they do 12 of them or all of them. So there's a lot of muscle damage happening there. There's a lot of requirement for repair. So protein has an extra important factor in making sure they grow, recover and develop appropriately.
So exactly, protein's great for repair and development of muscle. But then, we'll say for an athlete who wants to get leaner, or just anyone who wants to get leaner, or likewise for a student who wants to be the shape for their sport, what advice would you give them?
So the shape for their sport, that's a really interesting, I suppose, way to put it. And I come across a lot of athletes who get really bogged down by this. They get bogged down with the idea that, I'm a rugby player, so I must look like person on television, or I'm a runner, so I must look like Mo Farah or your Galen Rupp. And as a student athlete, as a teenager, you're not fully cooked yet. You cannot expect to have the same development or the same kind of level of training or physique as a full-time adult professional athlete. So what we always encourage is to focus on strength and focus on fueling. Forget about the image. There is no set body image for any given sport. If you focus on doing things right and ticking those boxes, long term, that's going to result in much more favourable outcomes from a performance perspective.
That's really good, solid advice to have. So I did promise one more recipe. Okay, so what we're going to make is my apple and berry overnight oats.
Great.
So people might have heard of this dish before and traditionally thought it was like a breakfast dish. But I think I'd be a person that would think breakfast is good any time of the day. So it'd be a great option as a snack. What would you think?
Definitely, yeah. And you've got plenty of protein, plenty of carbohydrates in there. It could be something you can have after a workout as well.
Great. And or likewise, for even a lunch, if you were eating a bit slower in the day or didn't want something so big at the start of the day, what would you think?
Yeah, look, I think this is a very versatile dish. It's portable by nature of what it is. It has plenty of variety in it. If I was caught for time, this is something that I actually frequently find myself reverting back to. Now, I don't make them quite as pretty as you do, but we still get the job done.
And that's all that matters, and it's really, as you said, a really good functional, recipe. You can reuse a jar as I'm doing here, just pop the lids back on, and you're good to go.
Absolutely, and I think, with the overnight oats, you can make them your own. You don't necessarily have to use apples and strawberries. You can stick in kiwis, you can throw in berries, you can practically throw in any fruit combination you like. You can also make the overnight oats with yogurt, and that can maybe give a different texture that people might like.
Exactly. So we give these a little go. So I've pre-prepared ones here that were in the fridge.
Great.
Because again, these have to go into the fridge, thicken up, as you said, overnight, and then we're ready to go. Great stuff. Give them a taste. For further information, tips and recipes, go to ndc.ie or at ndc_ie on social media.